We get over there and they've got him down. They're cutting his clothes off. Got a softball-sized hole in the side of his head. Several bullet holes in the car. I was working on engine 38 that day. Not my typical company. I was detailed over there that day. I was on the engine first half. It was actually a pretty good day. Starting off, I was detailed to the 38s, like I said. Crew of guys I like working with. Bonds from 45s was there. Q was the other medic. It was like a second home. It's the most common place I got detailed to. I think maybe Archie was driving, if I'm not mistaken. I was on the bumper the first half, pretty typical day. Of course, the unit came pulling up right after 7. A handful of doctor calls. Nothing of note really. So it was a normal day. Unit 9 pulled up right around 7:30, close to 8 o'clock maybe. They pulled on the apron pretty much as soon as they pulled up. We got to run for a shooting. It was me and Bonds. Bonds was my EMT. And so we grabbed our gear and threw it on there. Pretty much as soon as I got on the unit, I had a funny feeling. I looked at the MDT, looked at the description on the MDT, and it was, I can't remember exactly what it said, but I think it said male shot in a Volkswagen Beetle or something. And I was like, just something about the description of the call just seemed kind of off. I even said something to Bonds about it. But we headed to the call. It was Airways and Homes. And as soon as we pull up, I think, 40s were on scene. They had already gotten the patient out of the vehicle. The vehicle was kind of crashed off to the side. And we get over there and they've got him down. They're cutting his clothes off. Softball-sized hole in the side of his head. Several bullet holes in the car. I'm not sure if he was shot there, if he was shot somewhere else, and ended up there. But he kind of crashed his car off to the side of the road. As soon as I walked up to him, I could see him breathe. He was breathing. His belly was moving. Not adequate, of course, but I was just kind of surprised to see that he was still breathing at all. But as soon as I saw that, it kind of put me into, we got to work this guy. And from that moment on, I wasn't messing around. At this point, I couldn't even see his face. He was bandaged up, bloody, swollen. And I asked one of the guys on scene what his name was, and they said, "Oh, I don't have his ID. The police have it." And I was like, "Man, we gotta load this guy up." We loaded him up and we took off. I didn't bother getting his information or anything like that. And it wasn't until I started assessing him in the unit that I realized who he was. From that moment, all right, hold on. From that moment, it got real. But I didn't lose concentration. We ran the call, textbook. Everything we were supposed to do, we did. Whatever chance we could have gave him, we gave him. Couldn't intubate him. Jaw was locked. Bagged him the best we could. Got lines. Vitals were stable. He was alive when we got him to the ER, to the med. He ended up passing away actually a day or two later. But we got him there to the hospital, and I probably should have went home then, but I was still trying to process what had happened. My cousin, my first cousin, I'm really close with his mom and his brother, a little more so than him, but still. It wasn't like a distant cousin. It was somebody I knew, saw on holidays, had spent time with. It was somebody I knew. Not just, like I said, not like a distant family member. But yeah, it was a pretty good Um, gunshot wound. I mean, it almost looked like a hit. You know, I don't want to speculate, you know, but whoever was shooting at him, they were trying to kill him. I don't know how he was still alive when we transported him, but you know, you've been on calls like that. We had to use the water hose to wash his blood and his brains out the back of the unit, and I mean, it was, not unlike anything we've never made. You know, like I've worked in South Memphis my entire career, and it's nothing to make 2 or 3 shootings in a night some weekends, you know. But having it be somebody that you know personally and you're related to, a family member, it's a little bit different. But you know, I called my 200, and you know, I didn't even tell them all the details. I just told them we had a shooting, we needed to decon. Got back to the station, stocked up, and got back in service. We actually only made a couple more calls that night, which is pretty good for Unit 9. I couldn't process it. It took me months to process what happened. I woke up that next morning and I had a text message from my sister, because you know, I didn't contact anybody or anything. And my sister texted me and she was like, "Did you hear about," his name was Wayne, "Did you hear anything about Wayne getting shot last night?" And I was like, "Yeah, I transported him." My phone rang and it was my aunt calling his mom. I'm standing in the bay, and I think I was talking to Q. I think it was her, because somebody asked me how the night went or something, and I told them what happened. But when my phone rang and I was texting my sister, I kind of went, like, I was kind of out of it a little bit, I had like an out of body experience, just kind of, you know, I was feeling kind of dizzy, stomach and knots and stuff. And one of the guys from A Shift, I guess, overheard the story. He was like, "Hey man, I got you, get out of here, go home, be with your family," or whatever. Yeah, I got in my car and drove home, called my aunt, talked to her about it, and I guess Q had already told Lieutenant Booth, because I didn't speak to him, I just kind of left. Because like I said, I was kind of out of it. And so I think he called who he was supposed to, OSHA or whoever he had to contact. I basically called him and told him I wasn't coming in the next day, just because at this point, like I said, it hadn't really hit me what was going on, but I knew it wasn't normal. I knew it was going to be an issue, so I tried to get ahead of it. That's why I called him and told him I wasn't coming in. And from that point on, I was trying to contact, you know, people, trying to see who I needed to talk to, just to kind of get ahead of it. But I came home from work that morning, went to sleep. I was exhausted, even though we didn't make that many runs, just I guess from the emotional aspect of it, just exhausted. And I went to sleep, and man, I had horrible nightmares pretty much for that, nonstop for that first 2 weeks, just straight nightmares. And you know, and you don't know calls like that are going to bother you like that until they do, you know, because we see it all the time. I was surprised at how much it affected me. PTSD is real, man. I don't know if I'm the first one to ever do it. I'm sure somebody has transported somebody they knew before. I don't know how they took it or what, but I know how it affected me. And I've had some bad calls, you know, bad enough that they referred to me as a shit magnet. You know, like, you know, I had plenty of bad calls, especially right there on 3rd Street. I mean, you know, you worked at the 36s. You name it, I've seen it. And, you know, I've had a couple calls here and there that kind of bothered me, but it was never anything I couldn't move past and leave at work. And you do get kind of numb to the calls. I mean, you kind of have to keep them from affecting you. You kind of have to find the line of still keeping that humanity, that empathy, but not letting it affect you personally and, you know, emotionally. And I've always thought I was pretty good at that. You know, some guys, they get angry, they get jaded, they get cold. I felt like I was good at staying professional, but still having that empathy. But this was the first call I ever had that really, really affected me like that. I mean, obviously it's extenuating circumstances, which, I mean, you like to think of yourself like, you know, we work for Memphis Fire, we're paramedics, we see it all. do it all. We like to think we're big tough firemen, and we like to think we're immune to PTSD or critical stress debriefing. Now, who needs that? We laugh it off like, but no, it's real, man. I'm in a better place for sure than where I was. I still have a long way to go, but no, it's definitely the best thing I could have done. I say that because I don't know how I was feeling beforehand. I don't know how I could have processed those feelings and thoughts and that trauma on my own without the professional guidance and stuff. I'm still not to a point where I feel like I can do my job and not be a handicap or, still be worried that I might freeze up in the wrong moment when somebody's life is at stake, but I'm getting there. I'm trying to anyways. Just trying to get to the day, my day-to-day normal, because it doesn't just affect how you are at work, it affects your home life, just as far as like the anxiety, and the anxiety causes depression and, being around groups of people, that's hard for me now. Symptoms of PTSD that, you don't think about. Memory, my short-term memory's been horrible, and, just all kinds of things. But therapy has helped a lot. It's not a cure-all, but, it's definitely better than not doing it. Yeah, no, there was definitely a point in the therapy where I felt like I was doing better. My therapist really, tried to take me there to see for sure how much better I was, or if it was just in my mind, or if it was just relative to where I was. And what I found out was I was just better relative to where I was, because I was like, yeah, I think I'm getting to the point where I might can, go back. And she's like, okay, well, we're gonna do exercise. And she's like, all right, I want you to close your eyes and visualize you going into work. And she says, I want you to talk me through it step by step. Tell me what you see, what you're doing, how you feel. And I knew pretty early on into this exercise that I wasn't ready. Like, she wanted me to start from the moment I woke up that morning. And I was fine up until I hit the expressway and I was getting off on 3rd Street. From that point on, my whole demeanor changed, just the anxiety levels and all that. I knew then, why she had me doing the exercise. I was like, oh, yeah. And that's just visualizing it. That's not actually going there. I haven't been there since. I haven't been to the fire station. The guys have asked me to come by, watch Super Bowl or just hang out, or, and, I want to go hang with the guys, but there's no way. Take your mental health serious. It's just important, and if not more important, is your physical health, and it's all tied together. Don't let these guys think you're weak for having issues with a call. Talk about it, see a therapist if you need to. Unfortunately, my circumstance isn't a common one. It's not something everybody's going to encounter. But it doesn't mean there's not other situations that'll happen that it won't bother you. Get help before it gets worse. About a year before my incident, there was a guy at my station who committed suicide. He went home sick during the middle of the shift and went home and shot himself. I'm sure he was dealing with issues that might have been outside of work, but I'm sure work didn't make it any better. And I don't know if he was getting help, but if he wasn't, it might have been the difference. Definitely take your mental health serious.